Anti-Afro Spengalis. Hey everybody, question for you. How well do you think you know Umar Johnson? There are people who claim to know Umar Johnson. Let me tell you something. I never met Umar Johnson, never tried to meet Umar Johnson, never even gave it a thought. Many times people have stated he wanted to talk to me, and his, Umarians have tried to get me in a conversation. No, I'm not interested in that. But I will tell you something. Way back when I started with Anti-Fraud Warriors, before the name was coined, I met a lot of people who know Umar very well. The person that knows Umar the longest that I'm still in contact with is 17 years. And they are very good at predicting Umar's behavior. Plus, being around since mid-2014 in terms of Umar Johnson and him perpetrating in the mental health field, I'm still not going to make the claim that I know Umar, but we know people who do, and they are very good at predicting his behavior. Umar is going back to ground zero. And Anti-Fraud Warriors will be tagging right along. He knows that's where he made the most money. We know this because this is what he was doing when we first came on the scene. We're putting it back in perspective. The issue with me and others, Umar perpetrates in the mental health field as an expert. Umar Johnson is not an expert in the mental health field. So he has tried to recycle what was so lucrative in the beginning. These hyena yelps with these agencies, colleges, and universities. So what is Umar doing now? As it was predicted by those who know him the best, Umar is trying to go back and restart the claim that he's a clinical psychologist. And Umar has landed a keynote for the Association of Black Social Workers, their chapter out in DC. This is false advertising. This is how we started out. It was predicted Umar was going to go back. And let me also make another point. Umar is not happy about what's going on with all of this uproar. And the reason why he's unhappy, because he knows it can be tied straight back to him. It is not within Umar Johnson's control what's going on. And Umar Johnson does not like situations where he cannot 100% control a narrative. That is why he bailed out of the tele-abuse sessions. And I stated it before, I had nothing to do with the robocalls. People calling in, I don't know how to do a robocall. $7 million right here on the table. I couldn't even pretend how to do robocalling. I have no clue. I don't know who was doing it. But he realized there were enough people upset about what he was doing and saying that we're not going to let that continue. Now, if Umar Johnson wants to go off and have a private, whatever he wants to have, we're not infringing upon that. That's Umar Johnson. But if he advertises, false advertises, as an expert in the mental health field, if he says he's a clinical psychologist, if he says he's a therapist, we have a right to speak up and demand organizers take note and be informed of the truth. Now, there are people out there saying, why do you want to mess with a black man's money? Well, would you like a dentist opening up your child's mouth, rummaging around in your child's mouth? Are you going to take your child to a doctor that you can't verify he or she is licensed? Be ridiculous, people, if you like. I'm not going to be ridiculous. This is an issue that I have placed front and center. I have never lost my focus. Just because I have posted videos on other topics doesn't mean I'm not focusing on Umar. The pandemic has slowed things down in terms of enforcement issues. Unless something is a critical emergency, they are not going to be dealing with it. That's now going away slowly because of the pandemic. Agencies are getting back into full force. People are going back into the offices. We have never lost sight of the responsibility that we have to make sure our people get information that is responsible, that is ethical, that is humane, and that's compassionate. And when you're talking about working in the mental health field, you just can't have someone up here saying whatever the hell he or she wants to say. And that's what Umar Johnson does. He's a keynote speaker. How in the world did that happen? That means Umar Johnson was not vetted. 99.99999% of the time Umar Johnson lands these gigs, the people have absolutely no idea anything about Umar Johnson. And Umar Johnson likes to blame us. If you are above board, why would you worry about being vetted? Why would you have a concern about people looking into your official background in terms of your professional work? Put the personal stuff aside. Put all the videos that Umar Johnson made aside. Don't think about that. Why would there be an objection to having your professional background verified? Your education, your employment, your current status, how long you've been seeing clients, have you published any papers, have you published any books? And trust me, Umar would not really, oh my God, I don't want to talk about the book. The Kinko's print job, I should say, the $50 Kinko's print job. When you're vetted, they get to go through all of that. But if you sneak under the radar and get to people who don't know who you are, like Umar was doing with the colleges and universities, that's how he's able to slide in. He's not able to slide in telling the truth about who he is. That makes Umar Johnson all the more sinister and all the more reason he needs to be watched. He's causing harm to the community. What mental health expert, what therapist calls college date rape victims hot asses who wanted to be at the frat party and get with older men?
Date rape in college is a big problem. Date rape in college because our daughters love being alone with men and they don't know with they hot asses. Our daughters love being alone with men they don't know after the frat party with they hot asses, and it'll change your life.
Oh, people, listen. Have we ever really discussed this statement? Do you see how Umar Johnson completely glosses over or actually eradicates the issue of rape? Because listen to the statement. If you have a hot ass and you love being alone with the men after the frat party, that is not rape. That's consensual sex. Where is the acknowledgement of rape? Rape is very different. You do not want to have sex with someone, and through some means, which Umar doesn't seem to understand, you are either coerced, you are forced, you are given substances, you are pressured beyond your will, those things. He didn't talk about that. He's talking about consensual sex. Do you see how callous and just indifferent and disgusting Umar is? And he claims to be a therapist, a psychologist, and a mental health expert. And what about the emotional toll that rape would have? Well, guess what? Umar Johnson has an answer for that too.
Girls who are molested go on to develop thottish personality disorder. Thottish personality disorder. This is my disorder. I made it up. Thought. We all know what a thought is. That hoe over there. Girls who are raped and molested, they lose value and respect for their womb. Girls who are raped and molested, who have their womanhood snatched and taken involuntarily, they lose respect for the divine portal. They lose respect for the divine gateway. They lose it. And they start over-sexing to deal with the trauma. They start over-sexing. They'll start having a lot of sex, trying to drown out the trauma of the rape and the molestation. And they develop thottish personality disorder. That's when she's quick to have sex. She's quick to have sex. She get trains ran on her, multiple orgies, multiple head jobs.
Did you hear Umar Johnson? Now, this is a person who thinks he should be getting up, describing himself as a mental health expert at a Black social workers convention. He'll be talking about mental health, treatment modalities, all of this. Treatment is based on philosophy and it's based on research. Where is this philosophy anywhere in the mental health field? Now let me tell you something. Umar states, let's get to this. Women, girls who are molested or raped, sexually assaulted, lose respect for the divine portal. The word lose respect. No, someone lost respect for you when they assaulted you, when they forced these young girls, women, whatever age, into sexual acts. Someone else lost respect for you, not you losing respect for yourself. He has it backwards. So what Umar is incredibly inept at is trying to describe trauma reactivity. But Umar only focuses on one of several trauma reactive behaviors that can occur. How would you know that unless you spoke to the person? Okay, you're making a general statement, but there are other trauma reactive behaviors. There's avoidance. A person can just avoid sexual activity. A person could also engage in sexual activity and not get what the intended purpose is, which is intimacy. They may not have that emotional attachment to someone they're having sex with, but they're still making an effort to live a normal life. Then you have situations where somebody is going to use intoxicants, drugs and alcohol in order to place themselves in a mentally acceptable, tolerable position to engage in sexual activity. Umar doesn't talk about that. You can have women, and I'm talking about women now because this is what Umar Johnson is talking about. I could be talking about any gender, but we're going to talk about women, females, because Umar is bringing them up. You can have a person who did experience a sexual assault or rape or molestation, and they have enough self-resolution to where their life is not unduly disrupted. Because not every person has a traumatic response to trauma. Not everyone. You can't blanket everybody. It depends on the person. Then you have a category of people who seek treatment and receive the proper treatment, therapy, and they go on to live and enjoy relatively healthy sexual relationships. But think about why Umar focused on the trauma reactive behaviors, which he didn't even know how to describe, that entailed repeating traumatic experiences that were perpetrated upon you. But interesting, notice how Umar goes for the reactive trauma behaviors that involve repeating behaviors that one experienced during the course of trauma. He focuses on that. And why is that, people? I maintain there is a reason, because that's what appeals more to Umar Johnson.
Can I be honest with you?
You can be very honest.
Okay. Dr. Umar made me suck his dick. Dr. Umar made me suck his dick. Heard of Dr. Umar?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I connected with him over the phone, and he came to see me, but I didn't get a chance to tell him the story because I just, like, one thing about me is I'm too accommodating. You know, but people take advantage of me because they see that I got, mental problems, with the stroke and all. But it wasn't successful. And then can I be honest with you?
You can be very honest.
Okay. Dr. Umar made me suck his dick, and then he told me he didn't want to talk about nothing, and I wanted to talk like I'm talking to you, so that somebody would know the story.
Right.
And you could help other people by telling the people, Okay, I'm trying to warn the people. But, you know, Dr. Umar is just take over. And it wound up me doing what he wanted to do. And he made me want to listen to me. But anyway, man.
Now listen, people. You can decide to believe whatever you want. Free choice, free will, free speech. I rest my case. But I do want to talk about this term Umar Johnson used, oversexing. Please help me, someone. What is oversexing? I've never heard of that. What is oversexing? Is what Umar trying to say is too much sex? What is too much sex? Wouldn't that depend on your personal decision and the individual who you decide to have sex with? Who decides what's oversexing? He doesn't use the proper terms because I don't know what the hell he's trying to say. I'm just guessing. Oversexing. Umar cannot determine for anyone else what is, quote, oversexing or undersexing. He doesn't use the proper terms. How can he engage in any sort of discussion about these issues? He sounds completely and totally ignorant. You have to guess what Umar Johnson means. He's inarticulate. He doesn't have the knowledge. He doesn't have the terminology. Like I said, we're playing this guessing game. So I was thinking Umar sounds mad because it seems like other dudes are getting, the women getting easier access to sex than Umar is because of their situation. And why do I say that? Because Umar stood outside the abandoned bomb shelter and was trying to lecture the brothers about what to do with their erections when they're with a woman. And Umar's not even around. Does that make sense to anyone?
I mean, I don't care. The best man. It's hard for him to say no. Some pussy stand him in the face. I'm sorry. I don't know the man that's been born that's gonna say no to here. Look around here. Ain't nobody looking. He gonna fuck the pussy.
Umar doesn't understand that. Umar thinks that a man with a woman who's aroused, and the woman, she wants to have sex with the man. Umar thinks you should listen to him, and the man should not try to pursue the sexual relationship. And I'm talking about consensual.
Part of being an alpha male is being emotionally available to black women in need of positive masculinity without it leading to a sexual escapade. Women often need masculine love and emotion that doesn't have any physical intimacy tied to it. And I'm going to say this to all the black men listening. Until you are strong enough to love a woman without sticking your Shango stick, you can say, Dr. Umar, I know some women who are beautiful and got a lot going for them. But because
he done said Shango stick, what the fuck?
No, I don't really mean them no good, or because I know they really looking for a husband right now and not just a friend, or because I know I have enough women on my rotation as it is, because I know I have enough queens in my queendom, although I would love to experience this, sister. Real alpha male today. I'm going to be a real alpha male today, and I am not going to let that sister walk into a trap where she's looking for masculine validation but ends up getting taken advantage of.
It's truly remarkable. And yes, thank you to E&J. You heard their voiceovers. Their video a couple weeks back had all the right timestamps, so I used them. Let's go back to why we are here to begin with. Do you think Umar Johnson is an appropriate keynote speaker to be addressing all of these issues? The answer obviously is no. Umar Johnson wasn't vetted. As he usually does, he gets in where he can get in. Sometimes we aren't able to catch it in time. In most instances, we are. So we are rightfully indicating our objection to Umar serving as a keynote speaker based on justifiable reasons. Please help us get the message out there. Our community deserves better. You know there's much more to come. Buyer beware.